Good. I will have a question about the rating in Cataclysm, and there will be the same drops for 10 and 25 player dungeons. How do you plan to not let the 25 players raid groups die out?
Right. Well, our feeling on that is twofold. So, number one, we want 25-person raiding to continue to exist, mostly for people that like raiding as 25. And so what we want to make sure to do more than anything else is that if you enjoy doing 25-person raiding, if you're in a bigger guild that really likes doing the 25-person content because you like the feel of it, that you are able to continue to do that and that the game still supports it and you don't feel under-rewarded for it. Now, to try to make sure that we reward players a little bit for the extra organizational effort, we're trying to make sure that you get more loot in the same amount of time spent doing 25-person raiding than you would in 10-person. Yet at the same time, if you're the kind of person that only does 10-person raiding, you're not going to feel like your character is weaker in the long run because of it.
So you will cut down the drops from 10-player raids, or raise the...
We'll be increasing the number of drops that you get for 25.
So we will expecting like 5 or 6 drops?
Yeah, it's a lot of drops.
Okay.
It's a lot of loot. Archaeology. Mm-hmm.
The Cataclysm and can you tell us about
how it
works?
So it's nearing completion in our internal build, so it'll be in the beta very soon. If not this week, maybe even next week. The way that it works is that you pick up the archaeology skill. It's a secondary skill, kind of like fishing or cooking. And once you have that skill, you're able to survey your map. So essentially what you do is there are archaeological dig sites that will show up on your map. You go to those archaeological dig sites and you place a survey device. The survey device essentially is like a triangulation mini game where it will tell you there's an artifact in this direction and it's close or medium distance or relatively far away. And then you go and you place the survey device again in another location, and so you try to kind of narrow in on where that is. And so kind of the way that works is what the gameplay is intended to be is that as you get better at doing archaeology as a player, as you get better at doing it, it will take you fewer attempts to zero in on where it is and find the object. Once you find the object, really kind of the core idea is that it's a collection minigame, and you're collecting all the different archaeological artifacts out there just for the sake of collecting them, a lot like almost like you collect achievements, you know what I mean? And then also because there's some fun, kind of interesting toy rewards at the end of it, where some of the more rare archaeological finds are actual items that you can use that are fun, but aren't necessarily, they aren't like epic items, they aren't like power items, they're just intended to be kind of fun toys. Yeah, things like pets, although, you know, they all kind of fit better within the kit of archaeology. When it's a pet, it's something that kind of makes sense. It could be a gnome artifact that's a mechanical pet toy, that kind of thing. So it kind of makes sense that you've dug it up. So a lot of different items out there that we have that are just kind of interesting and different.
Some interesting loading screens in the latest beta build of Cataclysm. One showing allvatar is the Lich King instead of Arthas. Will he get some appearances in the game? Maybe.
Well, more than anything else, right? Well, more than anything else, we're just trying to make sure that where possible, the lore kind of keeps up with the events of the game world. And since the Lich King has been defeated, it didn't make as much sense for the load screen for Northrend to feel like, this is the Lich King's territory. So that's more to just kind of update it a little bit with the lore. And over time, we do plan to continue to update places like Outland and Northrend to be more consistent with the current world events that are happening. So yeah, and then also we're seeing several different iterations on the Cataclysm load screen. The first one that comes up, the login screen, where you log in, and we're trying to zero in on the one that feels the best.
About item reforging.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not in the beta yet.
Right. Yeah. Some of the UI is.
Yeah.
But
any skill, a trade skill will be able to do that.
Yeah.
But
It's not a trade skill thing.
Yeah. But the question is, how will be the ratio from converting stats?
Right.
Will I get one agility for one hit point, or
Right.
will there be a penalty or something?
No, the idea is for it to be a one-to-one trade, but you can only trade away about half of the stat budget of one of the secondary kind of abilities. So, for example, if you have, let's say your item has spell power, but then it also has haste and hit. You could pick one of those, either haste or hit, and you could trade away about half of that budget. And so let's say it had 30 hit on it, you could trade away 15 of that hit to put whatever stat of your choice on there instead. So 15 points of whatever you want.
Will I be able to reverse it?
Yes.
Okay. Will I be able to trade for mastery?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So this time is only hero class version for
Uh-huh.
Are there any plans to introduce new hero classes even after the
Well,
add-on?
It's definitely possible, although it would probably not happen as part of a content patch. If we add another character class, it would almost certainly be part of an expansion. It's too early to talk about any potential features for future expansions at this point.
Like the barber shop, are there any plans to implement new outfit systems like in Lord of the Rings or
Right.
in the future?
Yeah, that's certainly something that we'd like to do. It's just a question of when we have time to create the content for it. But it is on our list of things that we would like to do.
There will be only blue loot now in normal heroic dungeons.
Right. Not only. There are some epics in there, but yeah.
Okay, but mostly.
Yeah.
Okay. How is this going to affect the first raid dungeon? Will I be able to get maybe half green geared in there?
Half green geared in the first raid dungeon? I'm not sure what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, with a drop of the crit immunity that you
Right.
can skill it, is it possible for maybe go with not fully rare equipped people
Right.
in the first raid instance?
Not really. The intent is for it to be for the first raid instance to be very difficult if you're not equipped in about heroic quality dungeon gear. So the intent is definitely for players to, if they want to do raiding, that they'll go through normal dungeons, heroic dungeons, and then onto the first tier of raiding.
So you're trying to keep that.
Right. Now,
Yeah.
there are guilds out there that are incredibly good players, top guilds in the world, and they're going to manage to skip it. There's just no way a normal difficulty raid is going to hold them back to that. But most players will experience that they go through that normal dungeon, heroic dungeon, then raiding.
I guess there still will be heroic modes for the raid
Absolutely,
dungeons.
yeah, and there will be full heroic content for that first tier of raiding right from the start.
So you don't have to clear the dungeon first to.
You'll most likely have to beat it first, beat the content in normal mode first
Yeah.
before heroic unlocks. But it'll be a very simple thing to activate it.
Can we expect bigger class changes in the near future?
Well, I think we've seen already the biggest class changes that we're going to see with the revamped talent trees, the change to focus and soul shards and holy power for the paladin, stuff like that. Those are all really the most significant changes. Anything from here pretty much is going to be tuning and trying to zero in on good game balance.